Welcome back everyone, and here we are for week 6, race 11 of the Tanso GR86 season 7. And this week we're at Interlagos, Autodromo Jose Carlos Apache, if you want to say that in Brazilian. I have a little apology to make. Last time out, last week, I thought it was the last race of, or the last week of the season, the last 2 races, and I was wrong. We still have a couple more to do, so please ignore everything I said about the race ending and people's positioning, and who won it and who didn't. Eric Ronenberg and Adrian Hadfield are still contenders to win their divisions, the Pro for Eric and the Am for Adrian, but we'll need to see how it goes. So, not getting ahead of myself, we're going to get to the grid and see how they stack up. And we have Dan Wareham out front with Tom Bland in second, Eric Ronenberg in third, Stuart Quart close behind them in fourth, Dan Forster, Pete Sidgar, Jack Holland, Mark Proctor, Ryan Dudley, Pete Woodmore, Scott Joel, and then Scott Kostrick. That's your top 12. And then going on from there, we have Niles Cooler in 13th, Sinan in 14th, Rob Sutherland in 15th, Adrian Hadfield in 16th, Cyril Blanco in 17th, Lee Rylands back in 18th, John Johnston 19th, and Chris Thorpe sitting at the back there in 20th. So let's get this race started. And we're getting ready to go off the line here. Dan Wareham, Tom Bland, Eric Ronenberg. Somebody stuck at the back there. Niles Cooler didn't get away. Or is that Chris Thorpe stuck at the back? Anyway, Niles Cooler's in the pits now. Don't know what happened there. But we've got Dan Wareham, Tom Bland as they go through the centre S's. It's about the only part of the track that I actually know the name of, because the rest of them are in Portuguese. But we'll get there. So Dan Wareham takes him down the short straight out into the outfield with Tom Bland a couple of tenths behind, and Eric Ronenberg just behind him, and Stuart Quart nearly a second behind. Tom Bland takes a dive to the inside, trying to get round the inside of Dan Wareham. I think Dan Wareham there in a new livery by the looks of it. They're side by side as they come up here for this left-hander. And it sweeps around this corner. Really tough to hold it there as we come diving down. And we have Dan Wareham ahead of Tom Bland and Eric Ronenberg. And then close behind them is Stuart Quart. We're just catching the picture there. Dan Wareham is doing really well to hold Tom Bland at bay, and Eric Ronenberg is keeping an eye. And this is a lovely corner as we come back up the hill to the start-finish straight for the first time, and they should all tuck in left, and then yeah, they do, as though they're going in the pits here. It's just fantastic to drive this bit. And at the last minute, you pull over to the right. And you come up the start-finish straight. And it's side by side. Dan Wareham, Tom Bland. Oh, nothing in it. As they go through the centre S's. Oh! Wow, Tom did an amazing job to hold on to that there. That was amazing with the back kicked out as he come down the centre S's. And now Dan Wareham's out front with Eric Ronenberg, followed by Tom Bland. That was really fantastic. And we're getting others in there now. Stuart Quart getting in the mix on the back of Tom as he dives left then right. And we come round the big bend, the Disquida de Lago. Apparently, that's what that's called. But anyway, back to the race, and not my Brazilian. So Dan Wareham, and I was talking about the language there, guys. Easy. Eric Ronenberg is right on his tail, just a couple of tenths behind the Tom Bland. And Stuart Court is keeping them honest up front. He's going to have any position that anyone's going to give away. I tell you what, this is amazing. The top 7, just a couple of seconds between them. There's about 4 tenths between each car, if that, and it does change as they get round the track. It's going really well up front for Dan Weirham, and then further back in the field we've got Mark Proctor sitting in there, but he's over half a second behind Ryan Dudley as they go back up towards the start-finish straight again, and then Joel's about a second behind him. And then further back we've got Lee Rylands. He's trying to give Rob Sutherland some trouble there as he gets close on the tail. We're not going to miss the front for the centre S's, but I think Dan Weirham's well out of trouble here with Eric Ronenberg 4 tenths, but Tom Bland's coming back on Eric Ronenberg. He's going to try that move on the inside again. No, doesn't quite pull it off this time. And we go back to Stuart Court with Pete Sidcar just behind him and Dan Forster. So we got some trouble. We've got sitting there, Chris Thorpe just sitting there by the side of the track. Obviously got some problems. And Rob Sutherland, is that going up the inside of Stuart Court? That's Peter Sidcar. He goes up the inside of Stuart Court, taking 4th place. So Dan Weirham out front, Eric Ronenberg, Tom Bland. And then close behind them is Peter, who's just taken Stuart Court. Dan Forrester close back behind them. We're going to skip back here and go back to Stuart Court and see if he can catch up Peter, but it looks like he's got more to worry about with Dan Forster just behind him, Jack Holland just behind them. So we've got a close little fight here between 5th and 9th. No more than a few hundredths between these few, although it's starting to stretch out now. But back up front, Dan Weirham is holding off Eric Ronenberg. Eric is just chipping away here. He's getting closer and closer as we get through every lap. And, we're at 5 minutes down. And, Dan Weirham's gone wide. How did he hold that? He's going to have lost some traction going up the hill. And he's had to go out wide. And Eric has now taken the lead. He will take anything if you give it to him. And then he will take it even if you don't. So Eric Ronenberg now takes him through the start-finish straight. Dan Weirham's going to try and fight back after that little error. Forced or not, it's lost him a place, and Tom Bland is eager to get back again. And Pete's doing everything he can to catch up with Stuart Court, closely following as well. But as it is, Eric Ronenberg is being chased down by Dan Weirham. I'm just conscious of that car stuck on the side of the track there. I don't know why that hasn't cleared, but there we go. Dan Weirham is on the inside of Eric, but I think Eric knows what he's doing, and he'll be able to get that back. Was that a little touch? Gave Dan a little twitch. And Eric is being followed through by Tom Bland, tries to follow through. Doesn't quite do it, but Eric takes Dan Weirham. Tom Bland goes a bit askew and is now under threat from Peter. Peter is right on Tom's tail there. Eric's going to scoot away here. Look, he's 4 tenths. 4 tenths being stretched to half a second. And that lead is gradually being dragged out. I think Eric may have checked out here and is going to leave Dan and the boys behind, whilst Tom Bland is under super pressure here from Peter. No, but Peter goes wide. Did exactly what Dan did a lap ago. And that's going to put Stuart Court back on his tail, surely. So as Eric goes up the start-finish straight, leaving the others behind, although Dan Weirham has got a toe, he might be able to pull it back. But Tom Bland's close behind as well, just 3 tenths there. And then there's Peter. Eric goes right wide to come round into the centre S's. With Dan Weirham on his tail, Tom Bland holding it together there with Peter Sidcar behind and Stuart Court closing them down. It's much as he can. Well, I thought Eric had checked away here, but Dan's not going to let him. And Dan is now going around the outside and trying to take Eric. Nothing doing there as they come back up to the outfield section. And Eric from Dan Wareham, who is desperately looking for a way through, but is going to end up giving a place to Tom Bland as he goes wide. No, or does he get it back? No, he gives it up. My God. So we got Eric Ronenberg. Dan Wareham has now taken the place back from Tom Bland. These two are really having a hell of a battle here, and Tom Bland's on the inside. It pushes Dan wide, but Dan's going to be on the inside as we come up through this long bend. And even Peter Sidgar's now going to get involved. And now we're going to come round to the corner that takes us up the hill to the home straight. And Peter's through into third place. Absolutely fantastic, but Dan's wide again. Dan is really trying to push it. They've now let Eric get away. He's well over a second away. I'd be really surprised if that comes back now. He'll be out. Everyone's out of tow. Dan's now got Tom Bland to worry about. And it's really, really going to give him some problems now. As we see Tom Bland dancing all the back over Dan Wareham. Oh, he goes too wide into the centre S's, and Peter takes the inside, which becomes the outside. Tom Bland which then becomes the outside. Tom Bland drops down into fourth. So we've had Eric Ronenberg just under a second ahead of Dan Wareham, then Peter Sidgar, Tom Bland in fourth, and Stuart Court dancing about behind Tom. Stuart goes left, Stuart goes right, but he pulls back with it and gives him a bit of a break. In the meanwhile, Dan Forster's in trouble there from Jack Holland. No, I think something's happened to Dan Forster. As we go through wide here, Jack Holland forcing it up the inside on Jack Forster. Yeah, pushes him well wide. Not physically, but mentally he goes well wide. And now Ryan Dudley's ahead of Dan Forster as well. So Dan losing 2 places there in that close fight. And Ryan Dudley's taking Jack Holland now. But I think Jack Holland's dived up the inside and taken him back. And then they come around this section that takes them up the hill. Now, one thing, Ryan Dudley will have the tow as they come up the hill into the start-finish straight. Jack Holland's 2 seconds behind Stuart Court in the top 5, but Ryan Dudley's only a couple of tenths behind, right on his tail. And as the top 5 come through, we can see Jack Holland really under pressure from Ryan Dudley, who's just taken him in the entry to the centre S's. And then we've got Dan Forster and Mark Proctor there. This is a happy little quad of cars. Stuart Court's off now, 3 tenths ahead of Jack Holland. Dan Forster's half a second behind. Mark Proctor's trying to give him some trouble as they come down into the sweeping left-hander. Ryan Dudley takes them through, 3 seconds behind the top 5 now. Jack Holland 2 tenths behind. He swings to the outside, goes to the inside. Sorry, that was the other way round. Inside, outside. Game of Muscle's favourite tune, that one. And then we've got Ryan Dudley, Jack Holland 3 tenths back, Dan Forster half a second there from Mark Proctor. So we're going to let these guys have a little fight on here. And we're going to nip back out front, check out what's going on. Eric Ronenberg has got Dan Wareham trying to chase him down. Now I thought Eric had checked out and left him behind, but Dan says no, and timely as it is, Eric goes a little wide coming up the hill. Surely Dan's going to take advantage of that. Be on his tail up the start-finish straight and going to be pulling in. 4 tenths becomes 3 tenths. And the time difference comes in, and that's going to be all important as we come into the centre S's. Is he going to be close enough? He's not, and the trio go through, but close behind them we want to go back and see Jack Holland, Ryan Dudley, side by side through the centre S's. And then we've got Dan Forster and Mark Proctor. This quad of cars really having their own little battle here from 6th back to 9th. Really fantastic bit of fighting going on. And Ryan Dudley holds him honest out front. Jack Holland trying to chase him down, but he's got Dan Forrester to worry about. And then got Mark Proctor. So Dan Forrester goes for what will be the outside, but Jack Holland is on the inside and he's going to hold it. Oh, good job by Dan there. Will he hold it all the way around? Surely not. No, he's not going to be able to do that. And Jack Holland safely away there. Meanwhile, up front, Dan Wirham is chipping away at Eric Ronenberg. He's really having a go here. As we see him come round, go up the hill into the start-finish straight. And that's what 3 tenths looks like, guys. There's nothing in it. One little mistake by Eric and Dan is going to be on him. 3 tenths becomes 2.5 tenths. 2.5 tenths becomes 2 tenths. As we come up to the centre S's, we're now down to 1.5 tenths becomes a tenth. Oh my God, it's got so close. Ronenberg, let's get off his gearbox because Dan Wirham was all over Eric there. Tom Bland is right up behind Dan Wirham as well. And even Peter's gone for the outside. Are they going to go 3 wide? Surely not going 3 wide into this bend. No, not gonna happen. Tom Bland tucks in behind Dan Wirham, and Peter sneaks through there. Does he? Oh, it's so close. Not sure. They go side by side. You know, this is a wide track, guys. This is a Formula 1 track, but it doesn't feel that wide when you've got 2 cars going side by side, and you know these do slip and slide. As we see Tom Bland right on the tail of Dan Wirham. He's really under pressure here, is Dan. And he's trying to put Eric under pressure himself, making it ever so difficult. And then Peter here is trying to chase him down, and look who's sitting in the back just waiting. We've got Stuart, ever patient, sitting there to take advantage should anyone in front of him make a mistake. Now this is going to be critical going up the hill. We have Eric Ronenberg followed by Dan Wirham and Tom Bland, and the gap is smaller and smaller as Eric Ronenberg under threat from Tom Bland, who's less than a tenth. He's twitching on the outside. Oh my God, 3 wide into the centre S's. Almost. Oh, Tom Bland pulled out a bit. Dan Wirham manages to stay in there, but he's got Tom Bland all over his back. And that's Peter giving Tom Bland some trouble as well. And Eric scoots away. Only by 2 tenths though. Dan Wirham. Oh, Peter takes Tom Bland coming down the back. The straight after the centre S's into this sweeping left-hander. And how wide that track is, and they still have to swing there onto the right-hand curb, onto their right-hand curb. Look at Stuart weaving about behind Tom and Peter as they trade places backwards and forwards. 3rd and 4th, Peter and Tom, Tom and Peter. And then we've got Eric and Dan trying to get on with it between themselves, but all the time. Now we got Peter up into third with Tom Bland in fourth, and Stuart Court ever patient. Come around for this fantastic corner. If you get this right, you get so much traction going up the hill. It almost slingshots you round. So Eric Ronenberg takes him up the hill to the start-finish straight. 4/10 back to Peter in third, 4/10, but Tom Bland is right behind him, and there's nothing between the two as they go over the start-finish straight. Tom Bland loves danger through these centre S's, and I think he's snuck in front. No, Peter's back, but Tom's on the inside going into the centre S. Whoa, and he swings wide, but does he hold it because the outside becomes the inside and then the inside becomes the outside again? We go down into the straight. And Eric's running away, but Dan's just not letting him. 2/10 becomes a 10th, and it's less than as they come round the sweeping left-hander. Eric's on the inside. Dan tucks in behind and has to just let him go, and the pressure's off for a couple of minutes on Eric, whilst behind Tom Bland is trying to fight off both Peter and Stuart. And Stuart's now trying to give Peter a run for his money. This is never ending. So Eric is now under pressure from Dan Wirham yet again, less than 2/10, and we're in this wiggly bit of the infield where we go through Ferradura, Curvo de la Rajina, Pinarino, and Bico de Pato. I believe Pato is duck, so that must be duck's bill, I am guessing. There's my Portuguese. Anyway, Portuguese lessons over. Eric Ronenberg has got Dan Wirham 2/10 behind him. Tom Bland 3/10 back. So first and second, they're going to duke it out again. Going down the start-finish straight towards the centre S. And Dan Wirham has taken it. Did he just take it there? On the line? Not quite sure what happened there, guys. Dan Wirham, Eric Ronenberg, Tom Bland, Peter Sidcar. That was ever so close. Stuart, Ryan Dudley, Jack Holland, Dan Forster, Mark Proctor, Rob Sutherland. We will come back to that. Scott Kostrick, then Joel, then Lee Rylands coming across the line. Sinan, Adrian, Peter Woodmore back there. John Johnston in 17th. And Niles Kulo with Cyril Blanco and Chris Thorpe out some time ago. But let's just look at that time gap. That's amazing. So, 2/100ths of a second, Dan Wirham nicks it on the line. What a brilliant result there. Absolutely fantastic. Dan Wirham nicks it by 2/100ths of a second from Eric Ronenberg. Just incredible, with Tom Bland 2/10 behind, Peter 7/10 behind, and then Stuart Court, Ryan Dudley, Jack Holland, Dan Forster, Mark Proctor and Rob Sutherland rounds up the top 10. Wow, what a race. Let's just hope race 12 is just as interesting. Well done, Dan and Eric. Fantastic fight. Tom, Peter and Stuart, thanks to you. Absolutely entertaining. Ryan, Jack, Dan and Mark as well. And of course, everyone outside the top 10. Wouldn't have been a race without you. Cheers, guys. Next one coming up soon. And here we go. Race 12 of week 6 in the Tanso GR86 season 7. let's hope this race is just as entertaining than the last one as we get underway for the feature race here at Interlagos. And get ready, we're all gridded up, so we'll have a reverse grid here, and we will be ready to go any minute now. And engines rev, and we're away with Rob Sutherland taking us up front with Dan Forster just behind, Jack Holland, Ryan Dudley, Stuart Court and Tom Bland. So there's going to be the first ones are going to be coming through this fairly swiftly, I should think, as Rob Sutherland takes them down into the Centre S. And he's away, look. He is away, is old Rob. And Dan is like more than half a second behind. Jack Holland, Tom Bland, we've got some trouble going on further back as they're switching places like mad things. Ryan Dudley is up in the third. Jack Holland's in third now. Oh, is they go wide there? Wow, I can't keep up. So we've got Rob Sutherland in front by just under half a second from Dan Forster. Jack Holland is trying to take Dan Forster on the outside. Then we've got Ryan Dudley close behind him with Dan Weirham, Tom Bland, Eric Ronenberg, who's just taken Tom Bland. Whew. And then we go back to Rob Sutherland, who's now over half a second. All this fighting going on from second backwards is really playing to Rob's advantage. And there's someone off there in the grass. That looks like that's probably Sinan was that went off there. Eric Ronenberg's now dropped back. Ryan Dudley's now a second and a half. Look at Rob go. He is away from the crowd. Second and a half back to Jack Holland. Dan Weirham behind him. Let's see what's going on back there. Dan Weirham, shoves Jack wide as they go round the corner and up the hill. Back to the start-finish straight. There's some argy-bargy going on here. Now Eric Ronenberg just been taken by Ryan Dudley as we come up the hill. So we've got Ryan Dudley in second, Eric Ronenberg chased down, and then we're closely behind him is Dan Weirham, Peter Sidcar and Tony Bland, and they're all across the track there. Amazing as they come into the Centre S's. And Ryan Dudley takes us down the Centre S's a whole second behind Rob Sutherland, with Eric Ronenberg close behind and Dan Weirham behind him. Whoa, and big action offs there. I think what that was, Scott Kostrick. Who did we lose? Jack Holland we lost there, unfortunately. Big off at the bottom of the Centre S, and then we're back up with Ryan Dudley. Half a second back to Eric Ronenberg, and then Dan Weirham, and then Tom Bland. Well, you couldn't have hoped for a more exciting start here after the last race. Blimey, give me a chance to breathe. We go back into ninth place there. There's a big old gap as Lee Rylands got Sinan just behind him. So there's a whole bunch of cars here, but they're trading places further up front as Joel is close on the back of Peter as he's going up the hill. But they're a whole second behind Dan Weirham and gang. So we've got Ryan Dudley now. He's catching up a little bit after all the fighting further back on Rob Sutherland, who's trying to keep away and out of trouble. So Ryan Dudley, Eric Ronenberg is becoming a bit more normal now. They're catching up Rob Sutherland. They're reeling him in. Don't think he was going to get away with it. That is so unfortunate. He had such a start on him. But Ryan Dudley and Eric Ronenberg make for a choo-choo train as they go flying past the inside of Rob Sutherland and into the Centre S's. What will happen now as they come through into the Centre S's? Yeah, both smoothly past Rob Sutherland. I think he may have aided and abetted there a little bit just to make it easy on the guys. No point in getting caught up in a fight that is not yours. So Ryan Dudley now leads Eric Ronenberg by 2/10 of a second. ahead of Rob Sutherland now, half a second back, who's got Dan Wirham up his inside, and Peter Sidcar also coming up fast on the inside of Rob Sutherland. So they go into sweeping left-hand corner, and Rob Sutherland gives way there to Dan Wirham, but Peter's still holding back from Joel there, and Tom Bland further back. So Eric Ronenberg up on the inside now of Ryan Dudley, and Eric Ronenberg once again takes the lead at Interlagos, and he now leads the way, as he did for much of race 1, leads the way in race 2. But Dan Wirham is never far behind, so we've got Ryan Dudley 3/10 back, Dan Wirham half a second behind him, and then Peter Sidcar 3/10 behind him, with Rob Sutherland dropping further back to 5th, now contending with Joel, who has now caught them up. But it really is on up front as we look at Eric Ronenberg stretch his lead out from Ryan Dudley by over half a second now, although we have the draft come into play as they come over the start finish. Really good view of it here. Eric leads them across the line, followed by Ryan Dudley, Dan Wirham, Pete Sidcar, Rob Sutherland, Tom Bland and Joel having a set 2 further back. You see what's going on there. So Tom Bland chase bound by Joel, but I think he's lost him now, and he's away himself. And Ryan Dudley's catching up on Eric Ronenberg as we go down this straight and into the left-hander, sweeping left-hander here. It's very easy to go out wider than you expect, and that's exactly what Eric does. Giving Ryan Dudley, does he cut underneath him? Not quite. Eric Ronenberg managed to make something out of nothing there and hold on to it. Most mere mortals would have lost it there, but not Eric. He holds the lead, 3/10 ahead of Ryan. Dan Wirham, and Peter is on Dan's tail like no tomorrow, not giving him any breathing space. A full second back almost now to Rob Sutherland, who's under pressure from Tom Bland, and Joel's a little way behind him, but the fight is on up front. Eric Ronenberg, Ryan Dudley and Dan Wirham is never far behind. I haven't seen much of Stuart Court. He's way down the places back there in 12th. Don't know whether he got in some trouble earlier on, but yeah, there's nothing doing there for him after his good showing in race 1. Eric Ronenberg now being hunted down by Ryan Dudley as the draft does its job and gives Ryan the outside going into the centre S. Can Ryan really hold it up here? And they swap places momentarily, but Eric had the better line, and Ryan Dudley is now trying to catch Eric, but also fighting off Dan Wirham, who is close on his tail as we come down this long straight into the sweeping left-hander. So this straight is where it's all about. There's a dive down the inside by Ryan, very much like he did the lap before. He's taking for the inside line, and Eric doesn't manage to hold on to it this time. Ryan Dudley's got him, but Eric's got the inside as we come up to the right-hander, which is a long sweeping right-hander as we go in there, and Eric does bring it back. This is really close. Peter's up the inside of Dan Wirham. Dan Wirham hasn't got a chance here because Peter's on the inside and almost takes it out of Ryan Dudley's hands there, but manages to switch and stay ahead of Dan Wirham. So that puts us Eric Ronenberg, Ryan Dudley, Peter is ahead of Dan Wirham as we come around into the little bit of a straight just before the uphill. This is a lovely bit of track, as I've said before. Get the traction right here and it almost slingshots you up the hill onto the start finish. Look at Dan Wirham there, coming up in fourth place. Really did get some traction, and Tom Bland's not far behind either. So Eric Ronenberg brings us round the start finish with Ryan Dudley 3/10 behind, back to Peter with 3/10. Tom Bland swapped places with Dan Wirren, putting Dan back into 5th. But we come up to the centre S, and this is the moment for the brave, as Eric Ryan loses it slightly there, gives Peter a bit of a chance round the outside, but Tom Bland is there as well as Dan Wirren, and they're chasing Ryan Dudley down here as they go 3 abreast into the left-hander. Will they hold it? And Dan Wirren switches to the outside, but he just watches from the back as Tom Bland goes up into 2nd place. Ryan Dudley's getting swamped here with Peter on him. Tom Bland is now up there. Ryan Dudley's back into 4th. Commentator needs to take a breath. My God, this is getting hectic here as we see Tom Bland now lead 2nd place from Peter Sidcar back to Ryan Dudley and Dan Wirren. So what have we got? What come out of that? So Eric is now away. All of that fighting from 2nd back to 5th has just let Eric trundle away, and he's now 2.5 up. And whilst Rob Sutherland may have having to give away a bit, you can be sure Eric won't. And Tom Bland is not going to catch him, quite frankly, or I wouldn't have thought so. Peter Sidcar's back there, and we're on board with Ryan Dudley at the moment, who's going side by side with Peter as we come across the start-finish straight. And Eric goes down into the centre S, and then just back from that we have Tom Bland coming down, and now a 2nd back to Peter Sidcar. Dan Wirren just behind him, and Rob Sutherland now up into 5th. He's made some headway back, got past Ryan Dudley, but Ryan Dudley's fighting back. So we're on board here with Dan Wirren being chased down by Rob Sutherland. Rob has made a brilliant fight back there. It's absolutely fantastic. But he's got Ryan Dudley to contend with now. So we've got Eric Ronenberg, a 2.5 back to Tom Bland, a 2.5 further back to Peter Sidcar, being chased down and overtaken by Dan Wirren. So Dan Wirren now leads the 3rd place fight with Peter Sidcar behind Ryan Dudley. We're only 12 minutes in. And Rob Sutherland, unfortunately, has lost it and lost some places. Gone all the way back to 10th there. That's really unfortunate. He'd done some brilliant fighting back. But now it's Dan Wirren heading up 3rd place with Peter a couple of tenths behind him, half a second back to Ryan Dudley. And ever more, Eric is stretching that lead. He's now 2 seconds ahead of Tom Bland. We've got a long way to go. We've got a full 13 minutes or so to go, but I think Eric, bar any issues, has now checked out as we look down that start-finish straight. Look at those gaps. Dan Wirren is holding Peter Sidcar off and Ryan Dudley close behind him, and I think even Dan Wirren now is stretching out a bit of a gap. Pretty much all she wrote there. I said what had happened to Stuart Court, and here he is in 8th place, fighting amongst Sinan and Lee Rylands as they try to sort this out between them. Lee Rylands under pressure from Stuart Court here. Stuart Court tucks in on the inside. Is it enough? Will he be able to hold it? He's certainly got some good traction there. But he's got Sinan ahead of him. He's now ahead of Lee Rylands. But Sinan up there. Not sure he's going to do much with Stuart Court close behind him. My bet's on Stuart winning that battle at the end of the day. Look at him pull back on Sinan. You wouldn't want to be in that gearbox as Stuart goes down the inside of Sinan. And here he's trying to dodge his way through as we come through that lovely, the one in the corner I love so much, as we come up the hill. And there goes Stuart Court. Up round the outside. Is he going to hold it as we go across the start-finish straight? As we come in there, Stuart Court side by side with Sinan as we catch a glimpse of Joel going past the camera. Oh, yeah, my money's on Stuart, but it's the Senna S. Will he be able to switch back on him? No, he had the wrong line. Sinan had the best line, but Stuart's going to come out a winner, and he does. Give us your money. Those that bet against me. And it was too much pressure. And Senna's lost it all there. Unfortunately there, he's not going to make that back and Stuart's off. He's mugged him, quite frankly. He really has had him. But what's going on back up front? Tom Bland is now under pressure. Tom, who's 3 seconds behind Eric Ronenberg, has now got Dan Wirham on his tail. And Dan's got Peter behind him with Ryan Dudley behind him. Just under 10 minutes to go. Ryan Dudley's just taken 4th place from Peter Siggaard. Joel's now taking a place from Peter as well. So Peter won't be too happy there. There's some big gaps going on. So this is really about Dan Wirham and Tom Bland. Let's see what they can do from Tom Bland's point of view. Dan Wirham half a second behind as we come up the hill. Not quite sure what Tom's going to be able to do about this. As we see Dan Wirham coming round onto the start-finish straight, chasing down Tom Bland, 3/10. Goes to 2/10 as we come into the Senna S. No, Tom Bland holds it well enough, but it's still back down to 2/10 as we come out. What happens then? As we come through, Dan Wirham's taking the inside. He's got his nose ahead of Tom Bland as we come into the sweeping left-hander. And I think that may be all she wrote. What? Dan goes a little bit wide, which puts Tom on his tail. Now, will Tom be able to do anything? He goes for the inside, but Dan's having none of that. He cuts back, and he's 2/10 ahead already as we come up in to this lovely little manoeuvre here, where it tightly turns back up the hill. We come past one of Bernie's mates, back down the hill, and now we're going to build up, get some traction here, slingshot up the hill, ready for the start finish and into the Senna S. Crikey guys, it's really stretched out. What has been exciting for the first 20-minute race, and now for the first 18 minutes of this, has now stretched out a bit. There's big old gaps between everyone here. Eric goes across the start finish, followed by Dan Wirham, 3.5 seconds behind Tom Bland, 2/10. And then unfortunately we go all the way back 3 seconds to Ryan Dudley and a 6-second gap back to Joel. Peter's another second behind him. Stuart Court a second there, and 3 seconds back to Rob Sutherland in 8th. Long old gaps. Tom Bland's making a charge. Tom Bland going to give us a last few minutes worth of excitement on the back of Dan Wirham. Will Dan be able to hold him off? I think he will. Not sure there's much going to go on there. It's going to be a bit of a tussle all the time. That Tom has actually got the draft on Dan Wirram. But Dan's a wily character. Unless he makes a mistake, Tom's going to have a hard old time passing his teammate. I'm sure they'll try and keep it clean. Dan is in second place in the championship in the pros. Oh, and he goes a bit wide there. Teammate or not, I don't think Tom will let him get away with that if he can help it. But the timing board has us now just under 2/10 of a gap. Oh, a little wiggle there as well. Have Dan Wirram's tyres gone? Has he pushed it too hard? Is he pushing it too hard? Eric Ronenberg is now 5 seconds ahead of these two as the fighting goes on. I mean, there's not a lot they're going to do about it now. It is all a bit of a fight. But Tom is right on Dan Wirram's tail. And Dan Wirram can't even see him. As they go side by side into the centre S. Tom Bland has taken it off his teammate, put Dan Wirram back in third. I am sure that will change as we come down this straight here. Around the corner of the sun and down the straight. There's Eric waving bye-bye up ahead. What will Dan Wirram do now? Will he just bide his time a bit as his tyres add it? Tom's back up into the second position where he started. Can Dan Wirram fight back from here? We wait to see. Stuart Court in the meantime has been getting his finger out and pulling up on the back of Peter. Will he be able to get in a 5th place before the end of the race? We've only got a few minutes to go here at this brilliant track, Interlagos. Honestly, guys, if you've not raced here, when the opportunity shoots, it doesn't really matter whether it's an F4 car, the GR86s or even the GT3s. Get out on track at Interlagos. It makes for a great race. You know, these aren't the biggest or fastest cars in iRacing, but you can see what can be done, and it really is entertaining. And it's even more so when you're out there. And Tom Bland back up front, going into the centre S. Dan Wirram's not letting him get away. Not likely, lad. You're not having me, Tom. I'm coming for you. Dan's a wily character, teammate or not. He's going to try and get him going down the straight as Eric's holding that 5-second lead more or less out front. There we go. Bye-bye, Eric. Dan says, hello, Tom. Come on, mate. Pull me along. Can we catch him? You're not going to do it. 2 minutes to go. It's not going to happen. Adrian back here fighting with Niles Cooler. We'll give them a couple of seconds. We'll have a look, see what's going on here. We'll keep one eye on what's going on up front, because I noticed that Stuart Court is now putting the pressure on Peter as well up front. But while we're at it, Adrian Hadfield and Niles Cooler go side by side, and Niles takes him. And Adrian Hadfield has now got Dan Forrester to contend with. Nice little fight there. Further up, Stuart Court is giving Peter some trouble, but we've got to go back up front because it's nearly an end, and we've got Tom Bland under pressure from Dan Wirram as Dan desperately tries to get second place. Will Tom let him have it? We wait to see as we go into the final minute. Eric is way out front now. Goes across the start-finish line. Under a minute of time to go. As we see Eric Ronenberg, and we've got Dan Wirham's in front. Dan Wirham has taken Tom Bland, or was that given? The way Tom Bland is fighting back, I don't think that was a given. Because he's going to do him coming down the straight. What can I say? He's up the inside on Dan Wirham. Tom, don't take your teammate out. He won't be happy with you. No, Tom, Dan, Tom. And Dan's ahead. 6.5 seconds now. Back to Eric. They're having their own fun here. But we've got to go back to the leader. Eric Ronenberg. He's just a master on track, on any track. Not just this one. He lost out in the first race by 200ths, I think it was, of a second to Dan Wirham. Dan's 6.5 seconds behind, and with all the will in the world, Eric is not going to let him have it this time. This is how you do it, boys. This is how you do it. And there we go, as we come up to the line. Eric Ronenberg takes the win, 6.5 seconds ahead of Dan Wirham, just gets it ahead of Tom Bland. Well, great fight, you two. Good wiggles yet. Well done. Argy-bargies afterwards, but that's all in jest. Really good fight, really enjoyed that. Ryan Dudley takes 4th place, closely followed by Peter Sidcar. And then we go back to Stuart Court. Great fight there, guys. Joel, Rob Sutherland, Lee Rylands comes across the line. Peter Woodmore, Scott Kostrick, Jack Holland, Mark Proctor. And then we got Sinan. And then we got a little bit of a wait for Niles Cooler. But we'll watch him come up across the line. Niles takes it from Adrian Hadfield. Dan Forrester quite a bit behind. Come on in, Dan. Come on. Get in your finish there, mate. Well done. And John Johnston. Come on, JT. Keep pedaling that car, mate. And John sees us across the line at Interlagos for what was a fantastic round. That was absolutely smashing, guys. Really, really enjoyed that. Absolutely fantastic. See if we can get the results up here. We do, with Eric Ronenberg, Dan Wirham, and Tom Bland in 3rd. Ryan Dudley, closely followed by Pete Sidcar, Stuart Court, then Joel, Rob Sutherland, Lee Rylands, Pete Woodmore, Scott Kostrick, Jack Holland, Mark Proctor in 13th, Sinan in 14th, Niles Cooler did Adrian Hadfield for 15th, Adrian in 16th, Dan Forster, and then John Johnston follows up in the back. Right, guys, thank you ever so much for joining us in week 6. Next week, week 7 for race 13 and 14. Until then, thanks again. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Cheers.